Hi, Shaen. How are you today? I hope you're having a wonderful morning, relaxed and chill. Hope all is well and that you will enjoy the day with us. This is Calvin from TV Audio. Please bear with us as we are going to start the program as soon as possible. I'm hoping that my MC will be popping up anytime soon, but we still have some time for him as he's getting his house in order. So I'm just here to check if you can hear me and clear enough. Yeah, so MC is gonna do his mic test now.
Good day, good day. You guys are here with Revolt in the building. All is
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. So this is a mic test. Am I audible? Are you comfortable? Excellent. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to please rise? Can you remain standing as we sing our national anthem of the Republic of Namibia and also the African Union anthem, a symbol of continental unity? Esteemed working group members and delegates, valued partners, viewers joining us online and also on our national broadcaster, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. My name is Israel Vemburuka. I'm the Director of Strategic Communications at the Bank of Namibia, and I will be facilitating the program this morning. It is indeed my singular honor to welcome you to the 2025 Alliance for Financial Inclusion Global Policy Forum opening ceremony, happening right here at the coastal town of Swakopmund, Namibia. This is a special gathering where the desert meets the ocean and where leaders of finance and inclusion meet to chart a brighter future. Over the next 2 days, under the theme Empowering Society, Enabling Growth, we'll share knowledge, celebrate milestones, and set direction for inclusive finance worldwide. For us as hosts, this gathering is also a signal of intent that Africa is not only participating in the global financial inclusion agenda, but it is also shaping it. At this point in time, let me invite the Governor of the Bank of Namibia to deliver welcoming remarks on this occasion. Governor, the floor is yours.
Director of Ceremonies, thank you for the invitation to welcome our visitors to Namibia. But before I start with my official remarks, I would like to make use of this opportunity to express my gratitude, to acknowledge all the teams that work so hard to make this possible. The Team Bank of Namibia, Team FNB, Team AFI, our strategic partners, our sponsors, thank you, thank you, thank you for your contribution. If the speaker shouts, one team, Let the audience respond. One dream. Let's try. One team. One team. Honorable Erika Shafuda, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Namibia. Honorable Natalia Twagoses, Regional Governor of the Great Erongo Region. Ms. Soraya Hagushiremaya, Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda and incoming Board Chair of the Alliance for Financial Inclusion. Dr. Alfred Hanir, Chief Executive Officer for the Alliance of Financial Inclusion. His Worship Blasius Korasep, the Mayor of Swakopmund, distinguished central bank governors, esteemed delegates, and valued partners. It is with immense pride and deep appreciation that I officially welcome you to the Alliance for Financial Inclusion Global Policy Forum 2025, here in the beautiful, unique coastal town of Swakopmund, Namibia. For us, this is simply not a conference. It is history in the making. For the very first time, our nation has the honor of hosting this prestigious gathering, and we embrace this opportunity with deep sense of pride and purpose. As I stand here and look across this remarkable assembly of close to 800 central bank governors, regulatory institutions, ministers, development partners, and policymakers, I see more than titles and institutions. I see the custodians of our future, leaders who hold in their hands the power to transform finance into a bridge to prosperity rather than a barrier to opportunity. You have traveled from every corner of the globe, bringing with you diverse experiences, innovative solutions, and a shared commitment to advancing financial inclusion. Your presence here is a testament to the power of global collaboration and our collective determination to make inclusive finance a lived reality for every man, women, and child. And our objective is the same. That's financial inclusion. We're a one team. One team. Financial inclusion stands as a beacon of hope and opportunity in our quest for a more equitable world. It embodies the essence of availability and equality, granting individuals and businesses the means to access a broad spectrum of financial services, from banking and payments to the robust realm of capital markets. Underpinning this journey is a commitment to affordability, accessibility, security, and comprehensive usage, ensuring that financial tools empower rather than exclude. More than a pathway to prosperity, financial inclusion is a bridge connecting our present challenges to a future filled with shared opportunities. In this interconnected global landscape, financial inclusion is not merely access, it is the very foundation of empowerment, driving sustainable development and healing the fractures that threaten our shared humanity. The theme of this year's forum, Empowering Society, Enabling Growth, speaks directly to our shared mission. Empowerment is not just about opening a bank account or accessing credit. It is about restoring dignity, widening opportunities, and creating real pathways to prosperity for those who have been excluded for far too long. The challenge before us is immense. Today, nearly 700 million people, about 9% of the world's population, still live in extreme poverty, surviving on less than $2.15 a day. In sub-Saharan Africa, this burden is heavier still. Almost 1 in 3 people live in such conditions. And inequality compounds the problem. The richest 10% hold over 70% of global wealth, while the poorest half share a mere 2%. This picture is even more troubling when we consider our youth. Around 260 million young people between the ages of 15 and 24 are neither in school, nor working, nor in training. That is 1 in 6 of our young people worldwide. To leave them out of economic participation is to squander the potential and to risk the very growth and stability of our economies. In Namibia, these global realities strike close to home. We speak often of our triple challenge: poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Our unemployment, particularly among the youth, is stubbornly high, and the country still ranks among the most unequal societies in the world, with a Gini coefficient above 0.59. Almost 1 in 5 of our people live below the national poverty lines. These are not just statistics, they are the daily struggles of families in our villages, settlements, and towns. They are the realities that demand urgent collective action. Financial inclusion then must not only be treated as a side issue, but is also an important catalyst for empowerment and social transformation. Evidence shows that countries with high levels of financial inclusion enjoy faster gross domestic product growth and greater resilience in times of crisis. This was demonstrated by countries such as India and Mexico through bold reforms that brought agent banking, instant payments, and affordable services to the rural and excluded communities. The World Bank estimates that over 100 million adults could be lifted out of extreme poverty if universal financial access were to be achieved. Secure savings, fair credit, and opportunities to invest are not luxuries. They are lifelines that can transform societies. The digital revolution continues to be a powerful driver of financial inclusion worldwide, breaking down the long-standing barriers to access and to usage. Digital financial services reduce transaction costs and enable millions of underserved people to participate in formal financial systems. There are plenty of rich examples in Africa, including the March M-Pesa from Kenya. Globally, digital payment solutions, agent banking combined with mobile platforms have connected millions in remote regions to credit and savings products previously out of reach. Notably, the Aadhaar digital ID system introduced by India stands out as a key. Namibia is committed to addressing these challenges head-on, but ensuring that our financial inclusion agenda is inclusive and it is people-centered. For us, at the Bank of Namibia, we believe that central banks should not solely be guardians of stability. We must also be proactive creators of financial inclusion. This is why we pursue a strategy based on developing a smart central bank, fostering an inclusive and resilient financial system, embracing new economies. And we've got new economies around renewables in our country, around green hydrogen, oil and gas, and that's what we intend to embrace as a central bank. A vivid example of this bold agenda is the launch of a regulator-led instant payment solution, a system designed to make sending and receiving money faster, cheaper, and accessible to all. In a country as vast and sparsely populated as Namibia, this innovation directly addresses the barriers of financial exclusion that traditional banking has long struggled to overcome. We've got a vast country. I'm telling people that Namibia, in terms of size, is the combined size of the UK, France, and Germany put together. So that's the size. We're about 824,000 square kilometers. So it's a vast country. So unless we use the digital tools, it's going to be very difficult to include everyone. This is because establishing or maintaining physical bank branches in remote areas is costly and unsustainable, while agent banking has struggled to gain traction due to weak incentives. Rural communities remain underserved or unserved, with many residents cut off from the most basic financial services. The instant payment solution that we want to introduce seeks to change this reality. And by the way, we are currently in full implementation project mode. By enabling 24/7 interoperable fund transfers between banks, digital wallets, and other platforms, it puts financial tools directly into the hands of Namibians who need them most, from rural households to informal traders. It focuses on affordability and universal access, and it has the potential not only to close the gap between the served and the underserved, but also to transform how entire communities participate in and benefit from the formal economy. Furthermore, over the past 2 years, Namibia also strengthened its consumer protection frameworks to ensure that as financial access expands, individuals are shielded from exploitative practices. We have implemented an AI-enabled customer complaints platform to enable the timely resolution of customer complaints and grievance handling within the banking sector. This progress is complemented by the Ministry of Finance's enhanced focus on digital financial literacy, equipping citizens to navigate evolving financial technologies safely through the Financial Literacy Initiative. Equally important is our collaboration with government institutions as a comprehensive digital public and financial infrastructure gap analysis. This initiative maps areas where investments are most needed to advance equitable access and foster interinstitutional cooperation. For example, the bank's collaboration with the Ministry of Home Affairs has yielded the results of financial institutions' instant access to the National ID database, a key enabler of identity verification and digital onboarding, and advancing from the current electronic identification system to a full-fledged digital identification system. The role of robust digital financial infrastructure cannot be overstated. It directly enhances economic productivity by reducing transaction costs, accelerating payments, and integrating marginalized populations into formal economic activities. Namibia's financial sector transformation strategy 25 to 2035 explicitly prioritizes digital infrastructure development, foundational to exclusive growth and financial sector modernization. We made good progress overall around financial inclusion over the past years. Accessibility and affordability of financial inclusion have brought more vulnerable groups into the fold of inclusive finance. The widespread adoption of digital payments has greatly reduced gender and wealth disparities in financial services usage. Despite this notable progress, there are still an estimated 1.4 billion unbanked people, mostly in developing countries. The degree of anxiety about one's financial situation, about retirement cost, medical expenses due to major illnesses, monthly bills, and education cost is also becoming a measure of financial inclusion, which is difficult to ignore. These concerns call for sober reflection. We have got, despite the progress we made, a lot of work to do. As Nelson Mandela said, the higher you climb, the more mountains you still need to climb. So we made good progress, but we still have a lot to do. The Alliance for Financial Inclusion has been a beacon of solidarity and shared progress. Namibia's journey has been enriched by this community. We have learned from you, Dr. Hani, and we hope in turn to contribute to you. But beyond technical lessons, AFI represents something profound, the belief that global cooperation still matters in an age of fragmentation, that the rural farmer in Namibia is connected in struggle and aspiration to a farmer in Bangladesh or Peru, that the dreams of a young entrepreneur in Windhoek are not so different from his counterpart in Lagos, Sao Paulo, or Manila. As inequalities deepen, climate risk intensify, and geopolitics threaten to divide, the AFI network reminds us that cooperation is not optional, it is indispensable. The relationships forged here between institutions and individuals are not footnotes to policy. They are the engines of transformation. As we open this forum, I urge all of us to embrace a powerful truth. Financial inclusion is not charity. It is not peripheral. It is central to stability, growth, and justice. Economies that exclude are fragile. Economies that include are strong. Our call to action is simple to be put profound: leave no one behind. Let us remember that the choices we make in regulations, innovations, and partnerships determine whether finance becomes a bridge to dignity or a wall of exclusion. This responsibility is global. The migrant worker without affordable remittances, the small business without trade finance, the farmer without crop insurance, these are not just local tragedies. They are global failures, and they demand global solutions. As you spend these days in Swakopmund, I invite you to learn, share, and above all, commit. Commit to building financial systems that serve people before profits, that prize inclusion as much as stability, and that measure success not only in gross domestic product growth, but in lives uplifted. Let us leave this forum not only with new ideas, but also with renewed conviction that financial inclusion is both an economic necessity and a moral imperative. I would like to conclude by reminding us of what a famous economist, Paul Valery, said, and I quote Paul: "The future is not what is going to happen, but what we are going to do," unquote. Together, let us build a future where every person, in every community, in every country, has the opportunity to thrive. Welcome to Namibia. Welcome to Swakopmund. Welcome to a future we will shape together. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Governor Kabahap, for that inspiring, welcoming address. Ladies and gentlemen, collaboration with the private sector is essential in advancing the financial inclusion agenda. Please welcome Mr. Conrad Dempsey of FirstRand Namibia, who represents one of Namibia's financial institutions. And during his tenure, FirstRand Namibia has not only broadened its services, but also championed initiatives that advance Namibia's financial landscape, which he will eloquently present on this morning. Mr. Dempsey, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, a very good morning to everyone on this absolutely beautiful, beautiful Swakop day. I think the weather, we couldn't have asked for better. I'd like to stand on the protocol already observed, but a particular special good morning to our Honourable Minister, Erika Shifuda. And as introduced, the partnership between public and private sector is an absolute essence here. It's also great to see our other bank and non-bank partners, and I specifically use the word partners because when it comes to the topic of financial inclusion, we move beyond competitors into partnership, and I suppose the competitive side keeps us honest to solve for society. One cannot talk about Namibia at the moment without covering the topic of the intersection on oil and gas and the opportunity set that this presents for greater inclusivity and a more prosperous society. But I think we're all very familiar that the GDP per capita indicator can be exceptionally misleading. And as the Governor indicated, the Gini coefficient is a stark reminder that such prosperity generated does not always go through to everyone. This question is not unique to Namibia. It's continental and global, where growth and prosperity lacks inclusivity. It also asks us to very honestly reflect on what we mean when we talk about financial inclusivity. Is it access to economic activity, access to participation, or access to financial services? I suppose the magic is with all of these than when they are excluded and marginalized. And I think the brand of countries is the stories that their own people tell. and not what we try and portray to the world. The imperative for financial inclusion is no longer a nice to have. It's no longer something that we can. No small trader needs access to financial services, insurance, financial literacy. And the opportunity set to bring everybody into the formal net presents great opportunity for growth, not just in Namibia, but across the continent. The other side of the reality is also true. Exclusion breeds inequality, frustration, and a missed opportunity for the foundations of a peaceful and prosperous long-term society. We often talk about, practically what does this mean? And when you stand at the intersection where Namibia is, where potentially the economic landscape is fundamentally going to change, it's not hard to imagine an informal fisher in Lüderitz being able to access microloans to supply offshore catering. It's not hard to imagine a young coder in Windhoek creating payment platforms for energy workers. It's not hard to imagine local SMEs receiving financial literacy to join the valuable supply chains that's going to emerge in the country. And it's not hard to imagine a policy environment that allows Namibia to be globally competitive, to attract the catalyst investment that can create this greater inclusive society. For the First Rank Group, and I think for many of our partners in the industry as well, the purpose is clear. The country needs to be globally competitive if we are at all serious about addressing inequality and greater inclusivity. This purpose has guided the First Rank Group for over 120 years in Namibia and continues to work with government, with regulators, and communities to expand financial inclusion that every Namibian can participate. My time this morning don't allow to really go into some of the great solutions that FNB and other banking partners have delivered in the country. But I'd like to invite you to the talk tomorrow morning by my colleague, Nangula Kaluma, which will give you a very exciting overview of what has happened in Namibia on the financial inclusion journey, particularly over the last 2 decades, and also what is going on the continent, and a bit of a glimpse into the future. It's a journey of breaking barriers with mobile money and leveraging technology for the inclusion of many people that traditionally struggle to, in any meaningful way, participate. It's a journey that complements access with empowerment in credit, real support, sustainable finance, and financial literacy. It's a journey that I think Namibia and the African continent is really only starting to experience the extremely exciting possibility with the very large youth that we've got and the graduate endowment that we sit with in the continent and in the country. But as I said earlier, we cannot solve for this alone. We cannot solve for this as one bank, one industry, or one country. Capital is global, skills are global, literacy is global, and this is a global problem that we need to solve. Small items like progressive KYC is absolutely vital. And one in 10 Namibians don't have a formal ID. Yet, we want to give them safe, regulated access to financial services. So the risk frameworks that we design and work with our governments and regulators need to account for these nuances of an imperfect world. Interoperability and agent economics is absolutely critical. But agents must be profitable. The incentive for agents to provide these services in the smallest rural areas must be there. The accessibility and access is a factor of the real economics of making this work. I think important for us, inclusion is not just digital. It's very easy when you have these financial inclusion discussions to purely have a digital discussion. It's a very human discussion. It's a discussion about trust. It's a discussion about literacy. It's a discussion about consumer protection. And These are, I think, cornerstones that are as important and probably more important than the technology aspect that we bring to the conversation. Financial inclusion requires regulators who enable frameworks, and synchronization between regulators are absolutely critical. The dream of the Continental Free Trade Agreement is a factor of our ability as countries, banks, and regulators to synchronize on policy, systems, platforms, and regulation. Otherwise, we'll forever be sending forms between each other and keeping people very busy with paperwork. If I look ahead and I think, what does this mean for the next few years? Our next horizon is really to push inclusion beyond today's financial access levels in Namibia. Our next horizon is to deepen the ecosystem, ensuring that money can move seamlessly from wallet to recipient, from grant provider to savings account. Scaling digital onboarding, aligning with digital ID and KYC reforms, making account opening, financial services access, all the way through to submitting an insurance claim for a small-scale farmer, absolutely critical that we get it right. Investing in youth and SMEs is absolutely critical for us to have sustainable financial inclusion in order for it to translate into sustainable enterprise growth and eventually job creation and a prosperous, peaceful society. Through these steps, I believe this industry will not only serve Namibia, but also contribute to a more competitive Africa. In closing, financial inclusion is a true measure of national prosperity. In the case of Namibia, we're excited about the prospect that our natural resources may fuel our economy, but financial inclusion will fuel our future. At FirstRand, and particularly FNB today, our vision is not just to bank the privileged, but to bank the possibility of every African in every town, city, village, and to ensure that history looks back at moments like today and tomorrow and say, some of the changes started there. As a result of the conversations and decisions, I'm included today. My family is included. My business is able to grow. I suppose standing here, it's a bit like preaching to the choir. We are all here because we are serious about it and passionate about it. And we choose shared prosperity. So on behalf of the entire FNB team here, I'd like to thank you for your partnership. I'd like to thank the Bank of Namibia for bringing this opportunity to Namibia and adding Namibia's voice to the conversation. I believe together that with the right innovation, purpose alignment, and policy alignment, inclusion is no longer just a discussion point. It's a reality, and it's something that is very good for business and very good for economic growth. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dempsey. And the weather is indeed cooperating today. And probably, Minister, you brought the warm weather from the hinterland. We now continue with opening remarks from two distinguished leaders who embody the global commitment of AFI. First, may I invite Madame Soraya Hakusiaremwe, the Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda and Chair of the AFI Board of Directors. Governor Soraya has been a leading voice on how financial inclusion can uplift women and the youth and how innovation can bridge divides. Madam Governor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Honorable Erika Shafuda, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Namibia, Governor of Bank of Namibia, my colleague, Governor Johannes Gawashav, AFI board members, outgoing board chair of AFI, Governor Arif Ali of the Reserve Bank of Fiji, honorable governors and deputy governors, esteemed partners, distinguished delegates, all protocols observed, good morning. And from Rwanda we say muraho neza, and you respond muraho neza. It is a great honor and privilege for me to address you today on behalf of the National Bank of Rwanda as the newly appointed board chair of our Alliance for Financial Inclusion. And I'm truly humbled to step into this role and to continue working with a community so deeply committed to advancing financial inclusion and financial resilience for all worldwide. And let me start by thanking the government and the people of Namibia for the warmest of hospitality and for all the facilitation they've granted to us all. We thank you immensely. And to my colleague, Governor Johannes Shawashab, congratulations on a successful organization of this AFI-GPF. We are grateful to you, the Deputy Governors, and the Bank of Namibia's team for convening us in beautiful Swakopmund. I also wish to acknowledge my predecessor, outgoing board chair, Governor Arif Ali, and the Reserve Bank of Fiji, for their outstanding leadership as chair of the AFI board in the last 2 years. Your tenure, Governor Arif, strengthened our network. Its collective reserve, it's expanded our global reach and deepened our commitment to inclusive finance. I would also like to express our sincere appreciation to Dr. Alfred Hanig, CEO of AFI, whose visionary stewardship continues to guide this network of 90 institutions across 84 countries. So dear colleagues, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, this year we gather for a forum that carries special significance. The AFI Global Policy Forum, now in its 16th year, is not just an annual event. It is a symbol of our shared purpose, a platform that has inspired over 920 policy solutions and financially included more than 1 billion people since 2009. It is a forum where intent meets impact, where policy, innovation, and humanity converge. The 2024 GPF in El Salvador reminded us of the power of technology in widening financial access. Now in 2025, Namibia hosts a forum that undertakes to look deeper, not just at how we expand financial access, but at why we do it. This year's theme, Empowering Society, Enabling Growth, underscores a fundamental truth, that financial inclusion is not merely a question of numbers or reach, it is a human issue. It is about equity, dignity, and opportunity. When we empower individuals with the right financial tools, we are also enabling communities to thrive, economies to grow, and nations to become more resilient. And this vision is beautifully captured in the official logo of this year's GPF, which shows Namibia's golden dunes meeting the Atlantic Ocean, symbolizing transformation, convergence, and sustainability. Just as the shifting sands reflect a world in constant evolution, so must our financial systems adapt, converge, and remain anchored in sustainable development. We will be proud to introduce during this GPF the Swakopmund Call to Action, a bold reaffirmation of our shared commitment. And this declaration challenges all stakeholders, governments, regulators, central banks, financial institutions, and development partners to move from vision to action. It builds on the legacy of the Maya Declaration and other regional commitments, including the 2019 Kigali Statement to accelerate financial inclusion for underserved groups. It lays out a practical, human-centric roadmap for a future where financial systems empower, include, and sustain. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, as we deliberate over the coming 2 days, let us not lose sight of the human dimension of financial inclusion, because behind every policy, every statistic, there is a young person in San Salvador aspiring to build a business. There is a woman in Jordan seeking autonomy. There's a rural farmer in Uganda hoping to invest in their land, or a displaced person in Sudan looking for financial dignity. In the context of the African continent, this forum also speaks to regional aspirations. For instance, the SADC and EAC's push for innovation and promotion of regional instant payment systems, as well as the African Continental Free Trade Area's vision of a unified market, which reinforce the critical role of financial inclusion in driving trade, investment, and industrial development for our continent. Platforms like the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPS, are already reshaping financial landscapes and reducing barriers. Yet, this momentum does not exist in isolation. It unfolds against a backdrop of complex global dynamics, shifting trade policies, and growing uncertainty toward international development finance. In this evolving landscape, we must ensure that financial inclusion remains a global public priority, well anchored in impact. And financial inclusion must remain resilient to political shifts. But this requires forging strategic partnerships that honor African agency, amplify regional voices, and deliver solutions that are not only inclusive, but also sustainable and locally grounded. As incoming chair of the Alliance of Financial Inclusion, the National Bank of Rwanda will lead the AfriNetwork's collective efforts to deepen financial inclusion globally, while paving the way to financial resilience and wealth creation for all. With all board members and the entire AfriNetwork, as well as our strategic partners, we will advance a bold, innovation-driven, and people-centered agenda focused on 5 strategic priorities. The first will be to promote a supportive regulatory environment for fintechs by advancing innovation-friendly policies, including regulatory sandboxes, advancing proportional regulation, open finance, cross-border licensing, mutual recognition, and consumer protection, aiming at driving fintech growth and regional integration across the AfriNetwork. Second, we will prioritize research and experimentation in emerging financial technologies that have the power to include vulnerable groups. Experimentation of CBDCs or virtual assets, AI, all that to support risk-sensitive policymaking, and through pilot programs or proof of concept projects, the National Bank of Rwanda aims to help the AFI members responsibly harness innovation while maintaining financial integrity and financial stability. And third priority will be shifting from access to financial services to usage towards wealth creation, while financial resilience and long-term financial well-being of households and small and medium enterprise, ensuring inclusion delivers real, lasting impact for individuals, communities eager to create wealth in and for our countries. And fourth, we will continue to advocate for developing countries' needs in the international financial architecture. For instance, promoting anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing standards and frameworks, which do not undermine progress made in financial inclusion and which do not unfairly exclude developing countries from international financial services. And lastly, we will continue to promote innovative, sustainable finance policies to support climate resilience and advance inclusive growth for all. Dear colleagues, esteemed delegates, we stand at a defining moment where urgent questions are being asked about the future of growth, about equity, and about resilience. Financial inclusion is not just part of the answer. It is one of the most practical, proven tools that we have. But to meet the scale of today's challenges, we must not only expand financial access, but also shape it intentionally and sustain it with vision, purpose, and collective will. And so as we open the 2025 AFI Global Policy Forum, I invite all of us, our global partners and our regional champions, to embrace this journey. Let us think boldly, act with shared purpose, and remain steadfast in our pursuit of a future where every individual, regardless of geography or circumstance, has a genuine chance at financial empowerment and meaningful economic opportunity. Together, let's lead the AFI network in building empowered society that drive inclusive growth, as well as communities which create wealth and financial well-being. I look forward to productive and inspiring sessions ahead, and thank you for your kind attention. Merci beaucoup. Tangi unene.
Our next speaker requires little introduction. As CEO of AFI, Dr. Alfred Hanning has continued to forge AFI's reputation as the preeminent network of policymakers driving inclusion across the globe. Dr. Hanning, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, MC. Minister Erika Shafuda, Governor Gabashap, and Governor Hakusi Remye, dear AFI members, partners, friends, dear family, nice to see you. And I would like to just pick this up and say, one dream. One team. What is it? One dream? Thank you so much. Fantastic. So we can start, huh? Yeah, we always steal. We always steal from people, you know. That's the character of a network. Well, yeah, but let me briefly say that, of course, we also welcome the AFI new board members. Governor Soraya is with us. We have Governor Genya from Bank Papua New Guinea. We have Governor Jouari from Bank Al Maghreb from Morocco. And we have Deputy Governor Leonie Dunn from Bank of Namibia also. So these are the new board members. And of course, you're very welcome, very happy to working with you. At the same time, I must also appreciate the outgoing board members. First of all, my dear chair, former chair, Governor Arif Ali from Reserve Bank of Fiji, Governor Chi Serey from National Bank of Cambodia, Governor Martin Galstian from Central Bank of Armenia, and last but not least, Governor Karamo Kaba from Banque Centrale de la République de Guinée. Now, I'm really, needless to say, truly happy to see you all here in Namibia, in this beautiful town of Swakopmund, at a place which I'm told is very unique, and I was told it's the only place in the world where the ocean meets the desert. No, that's what I was told several times. But I think when you look at the logo, this also stands, I guess, for the power and the resilience of nature, which we see in this very logo, which is indeed symbolic for our theme, which is empowering society and enabling growth, which is the theme of this year's meeting. Now, you all remember, and our former hosts from El Salvador are right here, when we left El Salvador 1 year ago, we were not able to confirm where the 2025 GPF would go, for a reason, because there were some delays in the preparations. But I can assure you that at this time, the preparations for Namibia were already underway. We just couldn't talk about it. We are extremely grateful to you, Governor Gabashap, the whole Bank of Namibia team, the national authorities, and the stakeholders from this country for bringing the GPF to Namibia. Thank you very much. Yeah, an incredible amount of work is going into hosting such an event on this scale, and I can assure you, and I think you are all aware of it, our host is pulling all the stops to ensure an unforgettable experience for us while we are here. But of course, we also thank the public and private Namibian co-sponsors of this event. Thank you very much. Now, Governor Gabashab referred to the GPF as coming back to Africa. I think it's very meaningful for the continent. And as you know, ever since AFI has been created, when we started, even in 2009 in Kenya, Africa has been one of the driving forces in financial inclusion ever since. And so much innovation and leadership emerges from here. So I think at this stage, there's no better place to be. Let me start my remarks by emphasizing really that a lot is going on globally in the financial inclusion space. We do see a very strong momentum. And you all are aware of the recent data from Global Findex and our own AFI sources that there is outstanding progress, including a decline of the gender gap. I know there is some research now coming through that, of course, also cautions us to to look perhaps only at one data source, perhaps you also should include other data sources, but the trend is certainly there. We do see increasing savings, in large part thanks to the rise in global money, mobile money, and the recovery from the hardships of the pandemic. But it is very clear that targeted policies and investment in infrastructure will remain very vital. And we need to keep strengthening regulatory frameworks, promoting digital IDs, and supporting inclusive payment systems. But particularly in Africa, I think we also have a couple of very good news. In sub-Saharan Africa, the share of adults with an account has grown from 24% back in 2011, 24, to 58% today over Africa. I think that's quite remarkable. And what is coming out from the Findex, again, very interesting, among mobile money users, the gender gap has actually disappeared. That's quite an interesting result. Now, our host country, Namibia, I think is an excellent example of progress on financial inclusion. The country's achievements in instant payments, MSME, financing and regulating innovation are remarkable, and we are looking forward to learning about your experience and how these successes have been achieved. But I'm very sure none of these successes, none of the progress on financial inclusion has happened by accident. The gains, I'm sure, have been hard-earned. But we still have a long way to go, and I think it was mentioned. While the global gender gap is narrower than ever, it remains still high. In some regions, as high as 30%. That is actually not acceptable. And the 1.3 billion adults that are still without access, 50% or 55% of them women who remain financially excluded, is still a major challenge for us. That's why we also have gender inclusive finance as a main topic of our first panel. I wanted to share with you a small anecdote about gender, if you don't mind. It's a personal one. And I wonder whether anybody in the room can give me an answer to this. You know that I have a 7-year-old daughter. And she asked me recently, it was a serious question. She asked me, "Daddy, is God necessarily always a man, or can it be also a woman?" I must admit that I had no answer. But then she continued and asked me, applied the same question to Santa Claus. And still, I had no answer. A very difficult question. And I just want to say, if anybody of you has an answer to this question that I can take home for the little girl, I'm happy to take it with me. I think it's an interesting one, and it will lead us into our first panel. Now, the global landscape has dramatically changed since we left El Salvador. And we have seen the shift in the US trade policies. We have seen stricter migration policies. We have seen developed countries moving away from development assistance towards prioritizing national interests and defense budgets. And there's also a growing skepticism towards the international development aid architecture. And last but not least, we see an attack on values such as equity, diversity, and inclusivity. Now, while the US dominates the headlines, obviously, we see that in Europe too, aid budgets and contributions to UN agencies are downsizing, undoubtedly this will impact development cooperation. When budgets get slashed, aid workers laid off, and projects shuttered, the communities which depend on them suffer. Now, while it is important to flag these consequences, we should not assume either future administration changes might swing the pendulum back. I would not assume that. Or that the whole sustainable development agenda, on the other hand, is now at risk. There must be a middle path. Human development will not stop, simply because a previous aid model is no longer in fashion. Now, for me, it was important to find out what do AFI members think about this. And with the answers I got, I can tell you that I'm more optimistic than pessimistic about what's happening in the world. Over the last year, I really had the opportunity to speak with so many of you, asking how current geopolitical developments are influencing your financial inclusion agenda. I had the opportunities at roundtables in Washington, D.C., the spring meeting, at our Accra AFBI meeting. It was interesting what the top regulators were telling me. The answers I got, I want to share, should be very interesting to all of you. First of all, AFI leaders I spoke to, in fact, unanimously emphasized that without financial inclusion, price and financial stability are at risk of being compromised. It was a unanimous answer. They were also clear in saying that losing the emphasis on inclusion would be like shooting ourselves in the foot. And I'm now looking at one person who said this, but this was Chatham House, so I can't look too long at her, but that's what the person said. I found it very interesting. And there is no justification for us to change, even if some international organizations have already begun to change their narrative. Yeah? Many members pointed out that financial inclusion is critical for protecting the most vulnerable and for providing safety in conflict situations. Now, with all this, the conclusion is that for developing economies, financial inclusion has become, and I think this is something we need to witness over the past 15 years, has become a permanent macro objective. It's a permanent macro objective, both because of its contribution to monetary and financial stability, but also because of its relevance for the SDGs. Now, these conversations really confirmed my view that I expressed earlier this year, that AFI values that we all share, are not negotiable. And they are as permanent as the mandate of our members. I have been also very encouraged to hear from a number of funders in the financial inclusion space that their efforts to support financial inclusion will continue irrespective of changing narrative around some of the international organizations. Now, the criticism on the international aid is there for long. Yeah? So what is the criticism about? It is about lack of aid efficiency. There is donor drive and no country ownership. And the third one is we fail to create impact. When you look at these three, reflect on AFI. We are very aid efficient. I elaborated on that already at the last GPF. I even gave you numbers. The AFI model is incredibly efficient. Our members' commitments to pay fees for the services complements donor funding and increasingly helps us to raise the bang for that donor buck significantly. That's a fact. The second point, country ownership. Look around the room, you get the answer. We have very strong ownership. And what we do is very driven by national agendas. It is not imported. It is not flown in. It is not adopted from elsewhere without filtering it into the local conditions. It's ownership. And the third point, and I think that's the one that is the most critical here, the statement that we fail to produce, not we, but many of these institutions that receive aid fails to produce impact. We have done a lot on impact in the last year. I think you have seen all the impact stories that we have created, the videos that we are producing. We know about the attribution gap of policy to show actually what is happening on the ground. That is methodologically not easy, but we have started on an anecdotal basis to create stories, to show, and I think you gave a very good example, Governor Soraya, what happens when a poor person gets even a small access to a very simple financial services on the ground. There is impact, and we can more and more show this. Last year we had 104 policy changes in the AFI data portal that are registered, which is a 12% increase from 93. And we have also heard about the massive number of 1 billion that has been included as a result of AFI activities since 2011. 1 billion people. You can actually give a pat on the shoulder of your neighbor. This is fantastic. Now, it is also not surprising because I know how much our members work in this space and how they have put their efforts into developing and implementing impactful policy reforms. This is not a talk shop. When we go home, we continue implementing. And the idea is really to break down the barriers and creating conditions for innovation to thrive. One thing I want to tell all of us, because some of us are impatient, but those who are doing this job every day, they are aware of the inherent inertia between policy decisions and their actual outcomes and impact, which may only become visible after several years. It takes time for us to deliver results, but once delivered, the results are enormous. The example of a fully loaded ship that takes time to pick up speed, but once underway, moves strongly, may illustrate what is meant by impact inertia. I think this is an important one. Now, why was this possible? I think it's openness. It's openness for cutting-edge solutions. It's openness to experiment. Recently, 2 weeks ago, I was in Kuala Lumpur at the Asia Business School, very interesting gathering, and there was this Nobel Prize laureate, Professor Merton, from Sloan, MIT. And he has studied over the years, very interesting research he presented, how financial innovations emerged in advanced economies over several centuries. And you could see towards the end, it becomes very dense. Yeah? In the first 200 years, perhaps something here, something there, but then in the last 10 years, actually, it becomes very dense. Now, his main message, and I want to give this to you because I found it so compelling, his main message was that history reveals that best practice does not equate to best solution. And that rather than asking what has been done, we should focus on what could be done. I found that great. It struck a chord with me because for over a decade, this is exactly what the regulators in this room have been doing. They have been living up to this principle. Rather than just replicating tried and tested, developed world policies, they have asked, what could we do? And solutions that have produced impact have emerged. The research is clear. It pays off to be open-minded. I think this is a really interesting input that I got there, which is obvious. We know it, but it's nice to see that solid research can document this as well. Now, I have reason to believe that our funding partners are recognizing the value of this organization as their investment in AFI brings about systemic changes in financial ecosystems for the longer run, and not just to place band-aids in short-run gaps. And I think that's why I think we are well equipped with this cooperation model. It was mentioned. The cooperation model is strong. It has responses to the criticism that we have heard. In closing, let me express thanks and appreciation again. First of all, I would like to say to all of you who are here, to the members, to the partners, we are very grateful that you came. It's a long trip. For many of you, it's a very long trip. So We are glad you're here, and we know that the AFI Global Policy Forum lives and breathes through you. So thank you so much for coming. But to our co-host, the Bank of Namibia, under the able leadership of Governor Gabashap, for creating the conditions for the GPF to live and breathe, this is something we are very grateful for. And in this context, I would like to thank Deputy Governor Leonie Dunn, because she has been, together with her team, the mastermind behind the organization on the ground. And you were on the ground all the time. Thank you so much for this. But I also want to mention one person who is in the room, who many of you know, but she also played a role, because she played a role in pulling this GPF into Namibia. May I introduce you to Emma Hayambo, who made a very compelling case, for Namibia to be a great host for the GPF. Thank you, Emma. Emma is well known to us for quite some time, but I think she brought the message to the country, and I'm so grateful that the authorities reacted so positively and took the lead to bring it to us for today. Let me also thank our many partners and supporters. Yesterday we announced a newly created cybersecurity information sharing mechanism for Africa, which is funded by the German government on an initial and pilot basis. Very interesting. We are also working toward a renewed partnership with Climate Works to work on inclusive green finance. So we have a lot of good partners next to us, and I'm very, very positive that things will go well in the future, although we also have to strengthen our own efforts to make this organization sustainable. Ultimately, let me think also about the teams on the ground, the Bank of Namibia team and the AFI team on the ground. I thank you for doing what you are doing. Now, 16 years of AFI, 6 AFI Global Policy Forums in Africa, 1 billion people financially included. We have come a long way together, and I'm excited for what comes next, and you should be too. Before I go, let me share with you a very small story, not only from this continent, but also from this region that I have picked up maybe 3 months ago, when I spoke to one of the governors from this region, and I wanted to engage him into a discussion with me. And he said to me, look, in my village, when we want to talk, discuss issues, or find solutions, we meet around the fireplace. And he invited me, in a figurative sense, to come to this fireplace. With this in mind, I want to encourage everybody here to see Swakopmund during these days as our fireplace, where we come together to learn from each other and find solutions for a challenging future. Thank you very much and have a great GPF.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hanning. And indeed, tomorrow we'll be converging at a proper fireplace in the Kenyans. Looking forward to that as well. Our next speaker is no stranger to financial inclusion matters, ladies and gentlemen. Along with other policymakers, she championed the launch of Namibia's first ever financial sector strategy over a decade ago, when she was Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance. She has since returned to familiar ground as Minister of Finance this year, with a clear vision to close the gaps with the launch of this year's Namibia Financial Sector Transformation Strategy under her leadership. A seasoned former senior Treasury official, her career spans more than 3 decades in public service and international development. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our keynote speaker, Honorable Erika Shafuda, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Namibia.
Thank you so much, Director of Ceremonies. I was trying to see whether I can also join the network by saying one team. Okay, I passed the test. I passed the test. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Johannes Kawakap, our governor of the Central Bank of Namibia, Ms. Soraya Munyana Hakuzi Yaremwe, almost there. Governor of the National Bank of Rwanda and the incoming board chair of the Alliance for Financial Inclusion, Dr. Alfred Hanif, Chief Executive Officer of the Alliance for Financial Inclusion, Mr. Conrad Dempsey, the Group CEO, FirstRand, Namibia, and all the captains of the industry from that sector. Honorable Natalia Wahoses, Regional Governor of the Great Erongo region, His Worship Brasius Horaseb, the mayor of this beautiful town, Swakopmund, distinguished central bank governors, and I also acknowledge all honorable ministers and policymakers in this room, esteemed members, associate and affiliate members of the Great Alliance for Financial Inclusion, members of the public and private sector, I recognize everyone else, and of course, the media. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Before I start, I would want to convey a great warm welcome and special greetings from Her Excellency, Madam Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, the President of the Republic of Namibia, who said she wanted to be here, but she couldn't due to other assignments, but she said a big, big welcome to all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I go now to my speech. It's not a long one, but bear with me, because I'm going to speak on behalf of the government of the Republic of Namibia. And with that, I would want to say, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Namibia, it is indeed my profound honor to welcome you and address this esteemed gathering of the 2025 Alliance for Financial Inclusion, a global policy forum here in Swakopmund. The Alliance for Financial Inclusion serves as a unique and vital platform to all of us, where policymakers, innovators, stakeholders from around the globe converge, and indeed they converge to shape financial inclusion policies. They share their knowledge and foster cross-sector partnerships. Our collective objective of building an inclusive financial ecosystem that provide equitable access to financial services, empower marginalized communities, and drive sustainable economic growth globally, nationally, and we can also say regionally. Namibia has traveled a remarkable journey in advancing financial inclusion. Our story moves beyond merely increasing the number of people with bank accounts. We have tackled complex challenges such as reducing high transaction costs, expanding digital access, and addressing the needs of our vulnerable populations. This evolution reflects our commitment not just to access, but opportunity, dignity, and economic transformation for all Namibians. Namibia has witnessed the power of collaboration as diverse sectors within our country unite behind a shared vision for inclusive economic development. This collective effort has enabled us to pioneer practical solutions that turn vulnerabilities into resilience and resilience into opportunities, a testament to Namibia's innovative spirit and determination. I'm really proud to report before this platform, before this great event, significant progress that we have made as a country in the area of financial services. According to the ThinScope Customer Survey of 2023, 78% of Namibian adults now have access to formal financial services. This is really a remarkable increase from 51% a decade earlier. Give me a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Therefore, it is through these collaborative efforts that we are able to empower our citizens to save securely, invest wisely, build resilience against shocks, and actively contribute to our national development. Notwithstanding what I have just said, we remain committed, and indeed we have shown astounding fortitude and resilience in the face of these deep socioeconomic challenges. Government continue to consciously shape its policies, and we do this with information that we get from researchers, from all other partners, so that then our policies can engineer us to deliver tangible and shared prosperity that our people have for so long yearned for. We recognize that all these efforts, if not accompanied by financial inclusion, will not make us achieve shared prosperity for our people. Distinguished guests, as a host of the 2025 Alliance for Financial Inclusion Global Policy Forum, Namibia is really, really proud to showcase its achievements and to engage with all of you delegates. And I understand you are almost 800. And if I can still round to other figures, 1,000. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. The 2025 AFI Global Policy Forum represents more than a gathering. It is really a movement, a place where ideas can really take shape. Innovations are brought to light and partnerships blossom. It is here, through shared commitment and collaboration, the financial inclusion becomes more than a vision. Like I have said, it becomes a transformative force in people's lives. Ladies and gentlemen, this platform or this forum, whether it was by design or a mere coincidence, like it was said, it comes just a few weeks after we have launched our flagship financial sector reform in the form of the Financial Sector Transformation Strategy, this time around covering the period 2025 through to 2035. The governor of the central bank has a great homework because he has to make sure that together with the government and other partners, the aspirations that are outlined in that strategy become a reality. The ultimate objectives of this strategy is to bring about targeted transformation through, among others, broadening and deepening the financial markets, enhanced sustainable finance for growth and development, modernizing and upgrading financial infrastructure, regulation and supervision, access to finance for individuals and SMEs, financial literacy and education for individuals and MSMEs, and consumer protection and empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the role that our private sector, together with government institutions, including state-owned enterprises, continue to play in advancing digital infrastructure, innovation, and literacy. Their efforts epitomize the true definition of shared purpose and resonate strongly with the theme of this event, empowering society, enabling growth in our beloved country. And I would want to say, and I do this with, really with the permission of the governor, empowering society, growing our economies, can we add through financial inclusion to that theme? The digital revolution offers our countries an unprecedented opportunity to leapfrog traditional barriers. We are investing not only in broadband infrastructure and platforms for money transfers, but also in building a comprehensive digital public infrastructure that will support the foundations of a modern economy, from digital identity to proper registration to business licensing. These tools are critical for reducing costs and extending access to our informal traders, our farmers, our micro entrepreneurs, who remain vulnerable to economic shocks. To this end, and from a Namibian perspective, Bank of Namibia, with key national institutions, have embarked on a comprehensive gap analysis of Namibia's digital public infrastructure. The insights will guide the development of a national strategy and roadmap to accelerate rollout and ensure effective implementation. But we are not stopping with payments or basic banking. We are exploring how blockchain, artificial intelligence, and other emerging technologies can be harnessed, not for prestige, but for the benefit of our people. Not for speculations, but for inclusion. Our goal is to create new value, enable new autonomous actors in our financial ecosystem, and unlock the potential of digital innovation to transform lives across Namibia. Ladies and gentlemen, it must be paired with digital financial literacy. Our citizens must not only use the tools, but intimately understand them. Our financial literacy initiative, led by the Ministry of Finance with the support of the Bank of Namibia and all other platform partners, coupled with other private sector-led initiatives and donor-funded partners, has now reached over 65% of adults and is expanding to include cybersecurity, fraud prevention, and safe borrowing practice, or accidental. It must be intentional. And it must be intentionally designed so that then it can really make a difference. Therefore, we must continuously tailor products and support mechanisms to address unique barriers faced by, among others, women through saving groups, tailored credit and entrepreneurs programs. The youth, we have already been informed that youth unemployment in Namibia stands at 44.5%. That is a big percentage. So through these programs, we should really assist them through startup capital and integrated financial education. But we should also not leave out persons with disabilities. We should support them through accessible infrastructure and strengthened social protection linkages. These efforts are guided by our unwavering commitment to social equity and are embedded within our national development architecture, aided by global policy platforms like this one. And we once again appreciate the fact that AFIGF is happening in Namibia. Once again, thank you so much and congratulations. In this journey, let us act not only with agency, but with unwavering equity. Countries that are lagging, such as Namibia, should increasingly be supported not only through hosting events like this one, but with also tailored policies, programs, and actual resources to leapfrog, thereby closing global inequalities in all its forms. Today's event, under the great theme, Empowering Society, Enabling Growth, and have added through financial inclusion, marks a national milestone. Hosting this global policy forum places Namibia at the center of the global dialogue on financial inclusion and affirms our leadership in shaping inclusive and sustainable economies. To this end, I'm confident that central banks and the entire financial sector will continue to do their part and execute their respective mandates with diligence while contributing to advising governments, like the one of Namibia, on various solutions. At the same time, I hope we, as politicians, will continue to listen to your advices and do our part and provide the necessary policy landscape to deepen financial inclusion. I also hope that the private sector will continue to do their part of ensuring that financial products are accessible, affordable, in other words, correctly priced for the masses, and that the savings of our people are protected and that their voices are heard. Ladies and gentlemen, we remain confident that this forum will provide the necessary ingredients and further impetus to accelerate the implementation of the African economy's financial inclusion strategies. In conclusion, I reaffirm Namibia's commitment to advancing financial inclusion as a cornerstone of our development agenda. Together, let us harness the power of inclusive finance to drive prosperity, reduce inequalities, and build resilient economies for future generations. I look forward to the call for action of Swakopmund. And with this, I really thank you and enjoy your stay in Namibia, fruitful deliberations, and explore the beauty of Swakopmund. Once again, thank you.
Minister, if we can just stay on stage, and we would want to invite the host, Mr. Johannes Kabachab, the governor of the bank, Madam Soraya, our AFI board chairperson, Dr. Alfred Hanning, to come and do a symbolic activity on stage, which will herald the commencement of the AFI Global Policy Forum for 2025. If somebody has an item, we'll just require the minister, joined by the governor, Governor Soraya, to just hit that gong 3 times. And all of us in the room, we have observed this activity because many of us have been delegates to past GPFs, but this is the moment. Yeah. Minister?
So with that, we have now officially opened the 2025 AFI GBF in Swakopmund, Namibia, under the theme Empowering Society, Enabling Growth through Financial Inclusion. We wish you all successful, productive deliberations. Enjoy Namibia, enjoy Sakmund, enjoy the forum.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I kindly request you to stand for the AFI anthem. You may take your seats. Following this symbolic opening, we now turn to a very special segment from the host of this year's AFI GPF, the financial inclusion journey of Namibia. We'll be showcasing how our nation's journey, achievements, and aspirations are taking place, are shaping within the global movement for financial inclusion. So take your seats and enjoy.
From the fields to the factories, from the fishing boats to the city lights. Before the lines on maps, there was us. A rhythm, carried from one hand to another, a spirit that moved together, each step lifting the next. This land is not one voice, but a chorus, thousands of tongues calling each other forward. From the fisherman's net to the weaver's loom. From code written in the city to grain gathered under the sun, Africa moves with hope, with power, with all of us.
I think we can do better than that. Let's give it up for Namib Youth Choir and African Vocals. They came here with some original compositions, as well as compositions by Moises Domingo of Inchiology Studios, who also brought those incredible visuals to life. My name is Ashwin Betty, or as I am known to Namibia, Ashwin Betty. And I am here to speak about inclusion. Inclusion is a lived experience, carried in the voices, the journeys, and the progress of people. This is the story of Namibia's journey toward financial inclusion.
Namibia's financial inclusion journey began in 1990, when the Bank of Namibia was established as the heartbeat of an independent system. It gave citizens a financial identity rooted in independence and a system built by Namibians for Namibians. In 2002, settlement across banks became seamless through the Interbank Settlement System. By 2003, the Payment System Management Act gave the central bank the power to oversee reform, a framework later revised in 2023 into its current version 3. In the same year, EFT Electronic Funds Transfer System was implemented. Electronic funds transfer followed in 2004, then check processing in 2005, with each step laying the rails for trust in a young economy. By 2006, banking leapt into people's hands when USSD cell phone banking was pioneered. In 2007, FNB Namibia extended the service to remote users. In 2008, NamSwitch gave the country full interoperability, linking ATMs and tills across all banks. And by 2010, a new chapter opened when FNB launched eWallet. In 2012, the e-money regulations were introduced by the Bank of Namibia. This policy enabled the growth and expansion to see e-money become part of the Namibian financial inclusion story. With the phone in hand, instant transfer became part of everyday life.
I'm a man who believes in democracy. Which voice should I use? This one or this one? Sorry, I didn't hear you. I believe we're going with the second option. Now, highlights from this time include the introduction of the basic bank account, 0 rating on cash deposits, the consumer protection framework, and the code of banking practice. Each reform ensures that financial inclusion is about access, fairness, dignity, and trust. Let's hear from the Bank of Namibia to understand more of their work in financial inclusion.
Financial inclusion is more than access in Namibia. We regard it as economic empowerment, or a tool for economic empowerment, because when you provide access to every Namibian in forms of financial services, no matter where they find themselves, you empower them to be able to contribute meaningfully. We also look at issues of financial literacy to ensure that Namibians are able to make use of financial services meaningfully, and then we also try to ensure that they are protected as they engage with the formal financial system. We have made quite significant progress as it relates to financial inclusion. On the access side of things, about 78% of Namibians currently have access to a formal financial service, and majority of this number is in favor of women. And we also have introduced a number of regulatory enabling legislations that have enabled financial service providers to provide services such as your e-money regulations, your basic bank accounts. We've stripped cash deposit fees. We have your agent banking guidelines and so forth. We've also established an SME financing strategy. We've developed an SME financing strategy that provides support to MSMEs, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises that require credit. And then we provide them with mentoring and coaching. And then there's also a venture capital fund that will allow them to scale their businesses. On the literacy side of things, we have a national financial literacy initiative under the Ministry of Finance that is responsible for all our financial literacy education initiatives, and they go out into communities all across the entire nation, engaging individuals, communities, MSMEs, and training them around basic financial skills. And on the protection side of things, we have some frameworks, consumer protection frameworks, that allow consumers to lodge their complaints both with financial institutions and with the two regulators, that's the Bank of Namibia and NAMFISA. The most pressing barriers and challenges for us still remain with high transaction costs, especially on financial products, limited infrastructure in rural areas, and limited financial literacy amongst Namibians. And we are, as a Bank of Namibia, we are currently pioneering in the development of an instant payment solution which aims to address access but also affordability issues and some of the limitations around the infrastructure. We've strengthened our partnerships and our collaborations with key stakeholders, especially those within the ICT space. We are working with the ministries of information and technology, communication and technology. We're working with the mobile network providers, and we've also forged partnerships with the financial services industry, really to ensure that we build an ecosystem that is inclusive and tackle the barriers together. So to ensure that communities and our stakeholders are included in the policy initiatives that we undertake, the Bank of Namibia takes on a human-centered policy design approach in almost all the policies that we undertake. Rural communities are at the heart of our strategy, and we're currently trying to strengthen our efforts around agent banking networks, mobile money service providers. We're strengthening those partnerships, but we've also engaged our rural communities to really find out what are some of the challenges they are facing or encountering with regards to climate change. And we're working in the background with the support of the Alliance for Financial Inclusion to develop a sustainable finance strategy that has an inclusive green finance component that is particularly focusing on supporting rural farmers in our rural communities to build resilience against climate change. So success for us will mean that every Namibian, no matter where they are across the entire country, is able to access a financial services in a reliable, transparent, affordable, and convenient manner. And here we are talking about unique, diversified products for pensioners, youth, micro enterprises, informal traders, farmers. And we also want to ensure that these individuals are able to make use of these financial services meaningfully, meaning that they are participating responsibly and that they are enjoying full protection within the financial system.
In 2013, Namibia saw its first full-featured banking app, placing full-service banking in every pocket. By 2016, eWallet reached 1 million transactions each month, with 7 in 10 users actively relying on it. Trust in digital money was no longer a question. It had become a way of life for many households. Meanwhile, the Bank of Namibia held inflation steady within a 3 to 6% target. Stable prices meant families could plan ahead with certainty, knowing the value of their money would hold. In these years, banking was no longer a reward for the privileged. It became a right woven into the fabric of everyday life. By 2017, the value of e-money moving through Namibia had grown beyond 10 billion Namibian dollars. This was proof that digital finance was not only growing, it was transforming the national economy. With the revision in the e-money regulations, new services are enabled. This includes how Cash at Till came about and what paved the way for agent banking like Cash Plus.
The first time I used Cash Plus, for me personally, it was so much exciting knowing that I'm now a partner with the bank. And then for my customers, they were equally excited and knowing that they can now bank close to home. Offering Cash Plus services has so much impacted my business. Because now imagine a person comes now and he wants to withdraw. Sometimes he does not have credit and then he buys credit from the same place where he is withdrawing. So that actually generated more profits into my business. The most common thing people use Cash Plus for is withdrawing and depositing. Me seeing the business has passed COVID and now I've also expanded into 2 extra shops and also employed more people. I just hope that the bank implements more of these facilities into the next generation to make their lives better.
In communities with limited access to formal banking services, alternative channels do bring solutions. These are our people, Namibians who get impacted by the decisions that you make in this room. These communities live the policies that are created in conference halls.
What gave me a chance to change my situation is when I acquired training by Women at Work. This training really gave hope to me. I feel like it was a new beginning because I acquired a skill that I can do to generate income and support myself. We also train on financial literacy, how to budget, how not to use your business money in your own money. When I acquire and I start my small business, I open a bank account and so my money is safe. I can buy what I want, I can set up goals for saving, and I can plan also for my family, my children's education, of my business. I can think more what I can bring in or new equipment, can buy small equipment for my business now. I'm more empowered, more confident, more relaxed on my financial issue. What made me to start my own business is that I was unemployed for some time, and I said like, okay, let me acquire a skill so I can be financially independent, and I can also help others in my community and my family too.
From 2017 onwards, financial access began reaching the most distant corners of Namibia. The Bank of Namibia introduced guidelines for agent banking, while banks rolled out mobile wallets of their own. Competition sparked innovation. Blue Wallet and MobiMoney entered the mobile wallet space. In 2019, FNB brought Cash Plus, Cash at Till, and eWallet at Till, giving rural hubs like Tsumkwe, Divundu, and Oshivelo new ways to access cash and payments. That same year, Namibia began phasing out check payments, marking the end of a paper-based era. It meant that remote communities could save time, money, and effort while staying connected to the wider economy. By 2020, advanced deposit machines appeared, the first of their kind in the country. By 2022, DigiPlus arrived, a zero-fee digital account opened instantly by USSD or kiosk verification. A new generation of young Namibians could open their very first account with nothing more than a phone. In 2023, e-money transactions passed 43 billion Namibian dollars, more than 67 billion through e-wallet. Card payments at 70 billion, while cash fell to just 5.6 billion. The shift from cash to digital was accelerating faster than ever before. Banking was no longer a place you went. It was a tool you carried wherever you lived.
Are we still together on the journey? Apologies. Are we still together on the journey? Now, if there's something that I think a lot of us can relate to, is that it is difficult to find consensus when it comes to the likability of an individual. However, I am very sure that Namibians love their Miss Namibia. I'm going to take that again. Namibians absolutely love their Miss Namibia, Joanna Swartboy.
In my perspective, access matters because it's what sets you up for the future. As young Namibians, we're growing and we need to be more of global citizens. So once you have access to better financial tools or just financial literacy in general, it helps you gain access to the world. And we need to grow out of our little cocoon in Namibia and explore the world and take part in the world's economy as well. So I believe that as Namibians, we need to do more in terms of educating ourselves, especially with financial literacy, because I know our backgrounds, we don't really speak about money that often. Financial literacy is not taught in school, and that it's not a conversation that we have often. For me, feeling protected is knowing that there's a safety net. Knowing that even if I step out here, at least I can pay for my cab or I can buy petrol, whatever it is, knowing that I'm able to fund my daily needs. We need to implement financial literacy in our schools, not only in the high schools, but from grade 1 already. So I believe it's important for us to understand money and how to work with our taxes from a very young age. It will build for a better society and a more financial literate society, a more independent society, I must say. To dream big, to dream bold, that is my biggest aspiration for every young person in Namibia and in the world as well. I can imagine a Namibia that is more independent in the sense of the goods that we import. Once we have people that dream bigger and bolder, more industries in our country will develop. And I believe that we'll be more self-sustainable, most importantly, which is something that we need to do as a third world country. I believe Namibia has plenty of resources that will enable us to really fuel ourselves and also support our neighboring countries and the world at large.
In 2024, FNB launched Speedy, a portable POS device that gave power to small businesses and informal traders. The e-money legal framework was strengthened with features such as savings and credit formally recognized. For shopkeepers and market vendors, it meant payments could finally meet them where they worked, not the other way around. At the same time, the Bank of Namibia released open banking standards, opening doors to more innovation and competition. And in 2025, Namibia made history, becoming the first country in Africa to eliminate card swipe fees for all in-country transactions. For ordinary Namibians, this was savings felt in every transaction. Today, 1.7 million Namibians are banked across more than 216 access points. And while this is progress, the the work continues to ensure that those not yet reached are brought into the system. EFT transactions reached 827 billion Namibian dollars in 2024. Next on the horizon are instant payments, deeper financial literacy for communities, and stronger protections for every voice. Each initiative is designed to close the gap, making sure no Namibian is left behind in the journey forward. This is not a nation waiting to be included. This is a nation leading, and in leading, Namibia shows Africa and the world what resilience, progress, and aspiration look like.
For me, financial inclusion is deeply personal. If a rural woman in a rural community can access a savings product through a village savings cooperative or a digital platform and they're able to save, or farmer is able to access insurance for their produce, and youth enterprise owner is able to access credit to grow their business, that for me is the real impact. It's about empowering people and being part of the team that really works to bring these policies to life, these policies that impact the lives of our people, has been one of the most life-changing experiences for me. It gives me real purpose and motivation every day.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last time I'll be seeing you. For those who have bothered to look at me, for those who have just been listening, it is also the last time. But this is what I do have to say. Access, literacy, and protection form the framework for progress. Inclusion is lived every day in households, in businesses, and in communities. Namibia stands proof of this journey. Steady, determined. There is still work to be done. And this is why we have gathered together at the Global Policy Forum. May this be a place of ideas, a place of collaboration, a place of action. May it be a conference remembered for how it left no one behind, empowering society, enabling growth. This is Namibia's financial inclusion story. Thank you.
Another round of applause to Ashwin Berry and the entire team. Honorable Minister, Honorable Governors, may I ask you at this point in time to rise for the singing of the national and the AU anthems as we conclude the official opening of the AFI-GPF. Thereafter, we'll ask our VIPs and to just go on the left and follow, or your right rather, and follow Hitesh for a group opportunity outside. But for now, thank you so much. Please rise.
Let us dedicate
Thank you so much. Can we escort our VIPs for that photo opportunity? For the rest of us, we are on break until strictly 11:30. We are back in the plenary for the first panel discussion. Thank you so much.
The Bank of Namibia, together with the Namibia Financial Institutions Supervisory Authority and the Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia, is deploying a unified AI engagement and complaints system for banks, insurers, telecoms, and other regulated entities. This shared service is delivered by Proto and the Bank of Namibia and its fellow regulators, with implementation funding from the Gates Foundation's Inclusive Financial Systems program. Globally, digital and financial inclusion has drawn in millions of citizens in low and middle-income countries. However, systems to protect these consumers during scams, disputes, and negative customer experiences are often manual and inaccessible. To solve this problem, Namibia is deploying AI agents that speak local languages and transfer conversations conveniently between regulators depending on the supervisory mandate. The public can ask questions and lodge complaints through the country's most popular messaging apps. Complaints are automatically categorized and sent to businesses for monitored resolution. This AI capability helps Namibia's public services focus on complaint investigations and policymaking with standardized consumer protection analysis for the whole of government. Namibia joins Proto's AI deployments across countries like Rwanda and the Philippines with diagnostic and designed by the University of Cambridge Subtech Lab. The system is built to evolve, including the addition of more public services and integrations like fraud tracing and fund recovery. Working together, regulators, technology, and philanthropy, we are ensuring that public trust and the advances of financial inclusion are protected